All right, we are live. So I'm Morgan Sickinger,
I'm Haley Berlin.
And I'm Brittany LeBaron.
and we are doing our final. So the first question is, what doctrine in Wilbur's heart drove him to advocate? Why is this doctrine of the family so important to have in your heart, to be passionate and persistent?
Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, I think that like the main overall what doctrine was like all men are equal, and need to be treated as such. I also felt like he had like a love for all men, but I feel like those two kind of go, hand in hand. Like to see all men as equal, you have to see them almost as Christ would, and so you have to have that love for everyone to see them as an equal to you. And that I believe this is important because it's what like drives you and helps you stand up for what you believe in. Um, it encourages you and keeps you going, gives you a reason to keep going. So
And it says, let's see, why is the doctrine of the family so important to have in your heart and to be passionate and persistent? And if you look at Wilbur, he was like, it made him sick, the concept of these slaves. Like, it wasn't like, oh, I feel bad, oh, that's got to be a rough life. Like, it physically was unbearable for him. And so having that passion, he got knocked down and got back up, and knocked down and got back up, and he had that persistent drive. And that's what, when it says, why is the Doctor family so important to have, and have that passion, and it's as we have the drive and the passion to know how important the family is, we're not going to go, oh, I know the family's important, but it's kind of going downhill. Oh well, you kind of have that I am sick to my stomach, I've got to do something, passion. And that Wilbur was like a really good example of believing something and then acting on it.
Yeah. I mentioned a lot of that too. I like that. And then I mentioned kind of what the thoughts that came to my mind was Sister Beck had mentioned if you don't know the doctrine, then you can't defend it. And so I think that also has to do with that drive, that desire, that passion to seek out the knowledge to defend something. And that's kind of what he was doing throughout the movie was, seeking more and more knowledge to defend. His passion just grew and grew. He kept being persistent. And I also just put that it's important because Satan is trying to attack the family. He's trying to take away our rights. So that's why it's mainly important central to the plan of happiness. So yeah, that's what I
put. So do you guys have anything else to add?
Okay. No, I'm good.
Number 2 is, how did Wilbur employ a theoretical approach to become a more effective advocate, and then identify at least one thing in each system? So do you guys just want to do like go down the line? So I'll do micro. Okay. So in the micro system, there's like 3 main ones that I saw. He used the community like to advocate. He went to the community hall and gathered everyone and informed them. He also used his peer group. His friends were some of the people that he taught about the slaves and pulled on his team. And then he also used the media, which was in the microsystem, by writing letters and journal entries and informing people that way.
I'll take the second one. I feel like this kind of was like hard for me to comprehend and to divide and say what went where. So I may be off, but like when you look at the system, it has the media, the community next to each other, and then it's kind of mesosystems, kind of mixing the two, and that's where I felt like he took the stories and he took information, kind of like the media of today. I felt like, and then he went to the communities and he displayed it and explained it and kind of informed the community about by gaining information. I don't know if that's exactly, but that's kind of what I was feeling like.
Yeah.
I kind of struggled with this too, because I could see it from a child's perspective, like separating these in my head. But with his, it was kind of hard to, I don't know, separate it. I felt like everything was meshing together, so I don't know if this is correct. But I was kind of thinking of the example for exosystem, that how I remember, like in the movie, he got that letter from, I forget his name, but he was in Jamaica, kind of involved in the process, like figuring out the conditions over there and how badly like that affected him. And I was thinking, the exosystem is something that still affects you when you're not involved in it. Like you may not be involved in it. So that was kind of the example I gave, is although he wasn't involved in that specific process, it still had a big impact on him what was going on over there in Jamaica. So he was able to use that kind of drive his passion. Yeah.
Good. For the microsystem, his religion played a part of it. He felt like, he couldn't. At the beginning of the movie, he was struggling with knowing if he should like change the world or follow God, like praise God. And that lady at the dinner table asked him like, well, why can't you do both? So I feel like his religion played a huge part in it. And back then they were really religious. So, and then his culture. The one example that I came up with that one was, remember when they were explaining like the ships on the boat and how it didn't matter like what ship had the flag. So that's the one I came up with for the culture. And then did you guys do the chrono system at all?
Yes, I did that. Let me read what I put down really quick. I don't. Yeah, this one. This is about transitions, correct? Did I get that right with the chrono system? Like how the transitions can impact. I just kind of. I don't know. I just really don't know if these are right, guys. I'm sorry, but I just an example of how marriage kind of helped him in that transition of life. He was able to find his voice again and kind of take a second wing at fighting against the abolishment of slavery. And so that's kind of what I put down. So that was kind of a major transition in his life that he kind of used, and it kind of was a turning point for him too. So.
Good. The next question is, how did Wilbur and his fellow advocates do and share their research? What evidence did they provide to persuade the opposing or on the fence? So, they actually went and did the research. They didn't just like read about it, but like a significant one that stood out to me was when they were on the ferry or the boat, whatever, and they went and they took those people and he said like take the handkerchiefs off and smell, like remember the smell because this is like, I don't know, they just gave like the full effect. And also he like made one of those boxes so he knew what the slaves felt like to sit in one of those boxes, how little they were. So that's another way that he did his research. And then I don't know, I felt like they talked about it and they went through things together. They went to the ship together and did the experiences together.
One thing that I thought really was key is they went and got personal stories. They went and talked to the slaves and took that research and that information and brought it to life. And as they did that, they were able to share real life stories. You know, because you hear of sad things and it affects a little bit, but then if you see a personal story or an eyewitness, it really, I think, hits the core. And so I think that's one thing that they did really good about sharing their research is they found it through personal stories and then explained them.
Yeah. I mentioned a lot of those too, a lot of those experiences that they did. I just put that they conducted firsthand research. They presented that petition of, I think it was about 390,000 signatures on it. And I also liked how they had better evidence than the opposing view. And the opposing view really didn't have much to stand on. and you could almost tell it was fabricated. So I think that was really important on how they, I guess, shared their research. Is they worked really hard and put out something a little bit better than the opposing view.
Well, and with like that script with all the signatures, like they called that person out of the crowd, which like that was like really significant because if they would have said, hey, if you want to come sign this, that's fine, or you know, but like to call somebody out, like this person has already committed, that like gives other people the strength to commit. So
I feel like they convinced, you know, people of higher standing, so then people are like that respected them, and then it was kind of a way of like, oh, okay, if he believes in it, then I believe in it, you know, and it softened some of the hearts. So, you know, taking those people like the one that stood up kind of opened some people's eyes that probably wouldn't have budged, but they respected these people, you know.
Yeah.
That's a good point. The next question is, how does the film portray the importance of working together as a group? What has family advocacy group taught you? I put that like the movie portrays working together by like being there to support each other, bouncing ideas off of each other, and getting perspective. And it's taught me like there's more than one perspective, and my idea isn't always like the best or the greatest way to connect to others because they've obviously had different experiences. And then I can't do it alone. Like I need you need a team to do, you know, to make that movement, whether it's just a support team or somebody who's advocating with you.
I thought of where it says, what does family advocacy group work taught you? And I'm thinking of referring to like the class stuff, is what I thought. And so I thought about when we just recently did that social media pool, and we did some blog or Facebook or something like that. I really am not a Facebook fan. I don't have one. And so like the concept to do it was a little overwhelming. But then when I found out the group could do it, it like just came together. You know, I did 2 posts, someone did a couple other posts, someone was really good at creating the page, and so like something that was overwhelming to me to create because I don't have Facebook, don't know how it works, was thrown together really well by pulling on all of us. And so I think that's something with family advocacy that we have to really realize is that we can fight real hard by ourselves and not get really far. But if we can network, it makes a big difference. And I thought of 2 things connected to that. Like with Wilbur, he had people like the Prime Minister who had a different position than he did, who had different strengths and weaknesses because of that position compared to other people backed up. You know, when we work together, we, like you said, we have different backgrounds and even different positions in life that, you know, if you get a lawyer to help you with your family advocacy, they're going to help you with the law stuff. And if you get a, you know, a people person or, you know, you just collaborate, you really could do so much more. Like those, how many signatures did they get? It was like 300, whatever it was, huge. yeah, huge amount, and you would die with not that many by yourself. So you really can pull, when you pull together, you can do amazing work.
Yeah, I agree. Something that I just put down was that I don't think one man could have done this alone. And Wilbur was, huge part of it, but he could have done this by himself. He needed the support from his wife, from his friends, to kind of push on. This was really hard for him, but I think, just like what you guys said, they each had something to contribute. And then something that I've learned is just, I really liked working in groups because everyone's kind of at a different stage in their life than me. And I love hearing their experiences, their personal stories, because I don't know, I'm able to learn and gain more knowledge from them, but they've already been through what they've experienced in their knowledge. It just adds on. So that's kind of something that I like about the group work, especially this semester.
All right, the next question is, what parallels do you see between Wilbur and Captain Moroni in Alma 46? What is a Christian and professional family advocate, and how did Wilbur exemplify that? And then how can you be efficient or effective and Christ-like against such loud and often degrading voices? So the parallels that I saw was they were both standing up for something that they believed in. And then they both brought people together to fight for that cause. To be both Christian and a professional family advocate, he kept those two separate. He never brought his religion in when he was talking. Well, that I noticed. And he never forced anybody. He just stated why he thought it was wrong, and he made connections with people through personal stories, but he never forced anybody and said, you're a terrible person because you believe in it. And then he was just respectful, and the way that I can be effective is first being respectful, and then I think that acknowledging that everybody's trying to do what's best. I don't remember if it was Sister Barlow, I think, that said that, but she said everybody's trying to do just what they believe is best, and that really stood out to me because I don't know, I feel like we all think oh, my idea is the best idea, and we're a little prejudiced, of course my idea is the best, but acknowledging that they really do believe that what they stand up for and believe in is the best. So it's important to just realize that, and then see them as Christ would.
One thing, I watched a little bit of the teacher gave a couple examples of these discussions, and so I was watching a little one, and she mentioned something that really stood out to me about Captain Moroni and the way Wilbur reacted. She said that, and she brought up the talk about don't check your religion at the door, and so she said both Wilbur and Captain Moroni were and they didn't become mean or become aggressive or forceful, but they were Christians, and Christians are Christ-like. And so as we advocate for the family, we need to be Christ-like, and we need to, stand up for what we believe. And that Captain Moroni was not budging on what he knew to be true, but he also wasn't disrespectful. He was Christian. He was what we would expect a Christian to be, and that was Wilbur too. He was respectful, but he was strong, and he was dedicated, and he was committed. So I really liked that.
Cool. Yeah, I kind of found this. Let's see. I'm trying to think of what you guys haven't said already. I guess just a similarity or a parallel I found between Wilbur and Captain Moroni. As I loved how they both, raised awareness and the ways that they did it, and then also I kind of feel like they both they have kind of this personality where they didn't care that they were outnumbered, and I kind of like that because I think a Christian understands God and the presence in their own lives, and so that can be really hard. But them being Christians, understanding their God, and that He's on the fighting side with them, I think helped them not be afraid to, stand up against everybody else, be outnumbered, and then kind of just what you guys said. I said the same thing. Like the best thing I could do to be effective is if I was trying to be Christ-like, I would try to see everyone as Christ would. I would just try to love them, try to understand where they're coming from. That would only make us better in advocating for the family. So, yeah.
All right. The next question is Marcia Barlow's book on persuasive speaking and writing. Did Wilbur and others exemplify any of her ideas, and how? And I thought that he did a great job at reframing so that people could understand better. And then, I mean, the most obvious one was he used stories to connect, and they even used the story of us, where they would say, I, and then we, then this is what we need to do. So.
I think the same thing. He was really good at storytelling. He got those reference stories of people's lives, and created that so that it brought the concept home. And then also, she talks about trying to see the other point of view, and I think that he did that by saying, okay, I know, and it was mentioned earlier, but I know this is going to be a financial problem because this is where people are making money, or but then showed that morally this is still completely wrong, and so those are two areas that he did exactly what she was discussing.
Yeah, I said the same thing. One other thing that I had noticed from her, I don't know, when we were learning about Marcia Barlow, and she said that she called it old brain. She did that, how they need younger people to go and be advocates for the family because we understand the popular culture. We just have a better understanding of that. And I kind of found that similar to what Wilbur and his friend were doing. They were young. They're like, nobody this young is in Parliament. Nobody this young has done what we've done. But they were more aware of certain issues and trying to fight for that. I think that's what made their voice even stronger because of their youth. So that's just something else I got from Marcia, her ideas.
All right. The next question is, what role did the government policy and religious freedom play in the fight of the slave trade? And then, did you see the political system being pro-family? Why or why not? And this question I struggled with. But the government, I didn't think was for the slave trade. Like you said, they still saw the benefits of, we're helping these people, they get so much sugar every day for their tea, and really, we're blessing them. And I thought that this wasn't pro-family because they weren't really concerned about the well-being of others. They were, concerned about themselves and how the slaves were benefiting them. So that's what I put.
That's how I felt as well. I feel like, people that are pro-family are not just pro about their family. They're pro for any family. And so as they're sitting here being okay with the slaves and their families being torn apart and and having such a rough life that they couldn't be pro-family. So that was my thought there. And then it says, what role did the government play in the fight for the slave trade? And really, the crazy thing is the government laws make all the difference. Like, once the laws say you couldn't do it, it was into discussion, and so it just makes me think of how important the laws are and how important it is for us to help, I guess, advocate for the right laws, because they do affect what we can and cannot do. It takes away, I guess, some of our agency in a way. I mean, we still can do things and have consequences, but it's so important for us to have the right government policies, because they do affect our families and our lives.
I said the same thing. Like, I don't believe it to be pro-family either, because of how it denies, they're denying rights to individuals when being pro-family, like you said, we need to understand, be aware of everybody, all the individuals' rights. And then one thing that I kind of was thinking about was the government's involvement in this. And a lot of times I'm like, oh, they're just in the way, but they want to do this gradually, slowly. They realize that maybe this isn't the most humane thing to do, best thing, but they want to slowly get to that point. And it takes Wilbur forever to finally get changes to be made. And so that's kind of what I saw. They're more focused, like being reigned under a king rather than the people's voice. And but that's kind of what Wilbur doing as making policies is trying to accomplish, was just to try to be a louder voice for the people and kind of move things through. So
Good. The next question is, do you feel that Wilbur used his time on Earth well? And how did you see him showing the elements of concentration that Elder Christofferson spoke of? And I think he used his time on Earth well, because he changed the world, and not just like the slave world, but he also changed the life of all those beggars that he brought in and fed. And then some of the elements was he was doing God's, like he changed the world, and he was in the political side, but he also was doing God's work. He brought people together, and he cared for the poor. I might have looked at the wrong talk by Elder Christofferson, but we did read a talk that talked about those two things from him this semester. So
I think when that concept, when I read that question, do you feel like his time on Earth was spent well? I think it really hit me, because I think so often we get caught up in what others think around us, and you worry about mastering this world maybe, but you forget that really the most important thing is to return back to Heavenly Father, remember what God thinks. And so you have to say, I think that his time on Earth was well spent. And I don't think he was worried about being popular, because he definitely wasn't very popular at the beginning, but he knew what was right, and he stood up for it, and did what was right because he knew it was right. And I think it's just a good reminder to me that that's how we have to be. We have to realize that this life is just so short, and really is a time that we can't waste. So I thought that was a really powerful question. When I looked up Christofferson's talk, a couple things really stood out to me. He says, a consecrated life respects in comparable gifts of one's physical body. He understands the importance of each individual. And that's exactly what Wilbur knew and did. He didn't just say, I'm worried about my own life and my own family's life. He worried about each individual's life. And I liked how it said physical body, because he was so worried about them being beaten and treated so bad. And then it said a consecrated life also is a life of labor. And as we know, Wilbur worked forever to get the slavery gone. It wasn't like, oh, well, I tried, that's too bad. So yeah, You know, he like knew like it was a labor. And the cool thing is like after he mastered that, at the end of the credits, it talks about everything else that he worked on and improved and in social life. And the last one says true success in this life comes in consecrating our lives, our time, and our choices to God's purposes. And that's exactly what Wilbur did. He spent his life doing what we know God, makes God happy, because we know that each child is a child of God, and that's exactly what he would want someone to be doing.
Yeah, he definitely consecrated his time. He, that's why I believe that he spent his time here well. He took the time to educate himself, and then he didn't let that education go to waste. He really put it to good use, and he also was seeking happiness for himself and for others. And I also put from the talk that he understood how everybody should be respected, and that because blacks are of a different race, that doesn't mean that their bodies should not be respected. And something I put too, but he just gave his life to serving, and he gave his time, his help. He sacrificed a lot just to kind of push this through, and I I definitely look up to him. So.
Okay, any other profound thoughts or personal insights from the movie that are related to child and family advocacy? Um, I I already talked about this, but the one thing that really stuck out to me was when like the lady at the dinner table asked him like why he couldn't do both change the world and the Lord's work, and I just I just know like for me, I was I got married. I was attending BYU Idaho on campus, and then I got married, and so I switched my major to an online degree mainly because it was cheaper than to go to any local schools in Arizona, and I wasn't too sure, but the further I've gotten in my major, like the more I've realized like how important this major really is, and how like it's not. My mom told me when I changed, she said, "Oh, you can just be like a educated babysitter," is what she told me I would be. But it's not like just that. There's so much more, and like you're doing both. Like you can change the world, but you can also, have the missionary opportunities and strengthen the family unit, which is so important in the gospel. So that really stood out to me.
I really like that because I did the same thing. Like my husband was leaving BYU Idaho, and I was like, well, I'll take anything that's online, And so I took the degree, and I was like, well, here goes nothing. I mean, kind of interesting, but like the passion that I've gotten for the family has been amazing. Like I knew the importance, and I knew that it's a blessing, but I feel like the knowledge, I guess for me, it's a mom degree, and some people, and I think I used to say that in a little demeaning, a little just kind of laugh it off way, but really, that's what I've chosen to do, and so it's incredible blessing. And as we've learned, the family is the most important thing, and so this degree has been a big blessing to me. But I think that just thinking about the movie and advocacy, I think just what I'm coming away from it is just how one heart and one person can really make a difference, or the start of one person. He was just one individual. It grew, and that's the thing we need to remember is that someone needs to light the fire, and even like the fire starting with raising really good children or helping, because that's generations. And so I think that's just kind of the thought I had through the movie and through I guess even this course is just how important the family advocacy work is, and that it doesn't have to be a job or a career, but it just could be a part of our life.
Yeah. those are good. I just, one thing that kind of stuck out to me in the movie that I thought was really cool, I was almost thinking it'd be a good Sunday school lesson or something, but they use the analogy, they're running barefoot, and they said, why is it when you stop running you feel the thorns in your feet? And I was kind of thinking about that and kind of how that could be related to family advocacy, to anything that we have passion for in our lives. Is we're going to get a little beat up when we're kind of going through all the hard times in life and trying to go up against the opposing view or whatever it might be. We're going to get a little bit beat up, and we can see that in Wilbur's experience is that he was so sick. It really took a toll on his health. It was really stressful for him, but he kept going. So I kind of like that thought personally, is in family advocacy, like, no matter how much we get beat up, we just gotta keep running, keep going until we I don't know, make the finish line, I guess. So yeah.
That's really good.
Yes. Sorry. Okay. What is your understanding of the doctrine? What was your understanding of the doctrine of the family, and how has it changed? And at the beginning of the semester, my understanding was pretty much what the proclamation said, which isn't a bad thing, but it's just gotten deeper. Like, I don't just see the family as a religious, society anymore. This class has really opened my eyes to see it like as a political union, and I've learned like how to connect with others besides religiously. Like, I didn't know exactly how to do that, and this class has really taught me how to do that.
I like that you said that. Like, I feel like that's exactly what happened. Is we did that first article that was like kind of like a church talk, that was like discussing our testimonies, and then after that you had to do one without any religious background, and so I like that you said that. The things that I thought it was like, and with each BYU course, I feel like my testimony of the family and the importance of it has gotten deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. So I feel like this is just another layer on top of that, solidifying my testimony of the importance of the family. I think this course also helped me that the family really, really is under attack. Like, when we were reading about the sacred duty and that book, like, I was just floored at the, not just like small things that are tearing the family apart, but there are anti-family people. There's people that think that women are being, I don't know the word, put down, type thing for having to be mothers, or, that whole concept, I think really, really opened my eyes that it really is under attack, and it's not just falling apart, it's being pulled apart. And then that there's something we can do about it. I think that sometimes I think, oh, I have to raise my kids in this world that's falling apart. It's just going downhill. I'm sorry it's going to be worse. Just kind of that Debbie Downer, that's too bad mentality. But this course has kind of helped me that it's like, no, you don't have to just watch it fall apart. Yes, we are going to fight, and it's going to be a battle, but we can watch the government policies, and when we vote, we can be educated and know, you know what, we don't want this, or we do want that, or things like that. So I think it's just helped me to realize that even I, in any way, on Facebook posts, or on, if I get Facebook, or on family, just people I talk to, or it's just kind of helped me realize that I can make a difference no matter how big or how small. So those are the few things I think that the course has really stood out to me.
Yeah, my understanding has changed in a few different ways. My mom has worked with the United Nations over the past few years, and she worked with the United Families. So she would go over there and be an advocate for the family. and she'll come back and tell me kind of what's going on, and I loved hearing that, but that was always something that I was like, oh, that's not my mission in life. My mom's an awesome speaker. She's great at that stuff. But not for me. And then after taking this class, I realized, like, oh, we need everybody we can to protect the family. And yeah, I might not be the best speaker and things like that. I have my weaknesses, but this course has really taught me some other ways that we could reach out and protect the family and help other people strengthen the family in their homes. And so that's one thing that I really loved about this course is I always thought I had a good understanding of what's going on out there until I took this course, and I'm like, oh no, there's so much we can learn. So yeah.
All right, and the last question is, picture your spouse and children and write down some thoughts about how they will benefit from you taking this class. And the first one that I thought of was, my mom would call me, like, she's like, you're like a doormat, Morgan. Like, people just walk all over you. Like, you're too nice to people. And I married somebody who was like he was not like that at all. And so this class has actually taught me, like, to stand up more for what I believe in, and like how to find things and use my resources to stand up and defend my beliefs, which will benefit my family and my children. So.
I think that from this course, I think a couple things. One, I discussed a lot when I did the family advocacy, like, we had to, like, pick a topic. I picked pornography, and I feel like it was really, really sad, but really eye-opening, really educating, and almost empowering to know, like, as I dug into the topic, it was empowering to know that there is a way out, there's a way over it, there's a way to avoid it. There, whatever the problem is, you can get over it or you can avoid it. And so I think I have 3 little boys, and they're little, 1, 3, and 6. But I know that living in the world that we live in, it's not if they see it, it's when they see it. And so being an educated parent, then I can go in and fight and be ready and prepared and help them grow up so they don't have that in their life or have to have that temptation or not know how to do it. So I think that that's something that's helped me and it's going to help my family, is being educated in that area. And then it talked about, Sister Bex talked about mothers who know and how they simplify their life. And I feel like when I reread that, it was at a really good time because I've kind of like overstretched myself and I have too many things I'm trying to do. And so it was just a reminder that it's like the most important thing I could be doing is raising these 3 boys. So I started cutting out things that don't matter, And so I think this course was just really, really inspiring for me and really empowering as a mother to do those things that will help my family.
Yeah, I also did a thread on kind of the impact that children have when they're living in a home with unmarried parents. And that was kind of an eye-opener for me too. I'm expecting a little girl soon, and I was just having me thinking, like, how is her being raised in a home with married parents different than those of being raised in a home where their parents aren't married, there's not very much commitment there, loyalty, trust, and that's just something that I've kind of really, there's just so many issues that are really impeding on the needs of children, I feel like, and I think from taking this course, I'm able to be more aware of that, and it makes me want to try harder in my marriage and being a parent. And I hope that I can be a good example to other families and kind of promote this in the community as well. And yeah, that's kind of was a big eye opener for me, the threat, how we were picking a threat, because I didn't realize how much children are really they're suffering a lot of these issues, and that kind of breaks my heart in a way because a lot of them can't stand up for themselves, and we kind of need to do that. But yeah, I think that's gonna make me a better parent, a better wife. Is just realizing how easily we can impact individuals in our lives when we're not really, I don't know, staying on top of things and looking after one another. So yeah, is
I
that
think
it?
one other thing, I'm butting
Oh,
back
sorry.
in. Sorry, no, I'm going around. I think that one thing that the classes really stood out to me is that like how much the family is under attack, and so we need to protect our homes and we need to safeguard our homes. You know, in the scriptures, it talks about how to protect themselves from the evil and I think it was the Lamanites. They set up, they built a fortress around their house, around their city. You know, and that's what we have to do. We have to build that fortress that when the fiery darts, the adversary come, the temptations, the trials, the all the things that are affecting the family, we have that barrier that protects the family. And so I think that's been something I've been thinking about lately. Anyways, I think that was it. All we had to
Yeah,
do. So we started
awesome.
at 8:10, so I think we hit our 45 minutes.
Yeah,
Barely.
yeah.
So it'll post on my account. I just email her the link, right? Is that what she wants us to do?
Do we all
Just
need to post it, or?
well,
One's fine.
I thought it said like to either post it on the discussion board or email. So
Oh,
I would rather just email it because I don't know if she means like the question discussion board. I would assume that's the only one that's
yeah.
in the
I think I
folder,
saw it
but
too.
I'll just email her
Okay,
the link. And I can copy
awesome.
you guys in on it if you would like. But anyways,
Sounds good.
good luck
Yeah.
with your
With your
finals.
baby.
Yeah. Good to see you, cousin.
I know. This is the way we have to see each other.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's good to see you girls. Hang in there. You're almost done.
Have a
Woo.
good
All
Have a good
right. Bye,
night.
guys.